Welcome to Catholic Ed for All, your weekly insight into topics of special education in Catholic schools. My name is Dr. Raul Escarpio, and I invite you to join me each week as we learn how to be more inclusive in Catholic schools and continue to live out St. John Paul II's message of open wide the doors to Christ. Many thanks go out to RCL Benzinger, who is generously sponsoring this podcast. RCL Benzinger enriches the worldwide Catholic community by providing the most engaging and highest quality resources, programs, and services rooted in the rich and diverse tradition of the Catholic faith. And now, on to our show. So NCA 2019 may have ended last week, but I am still being joined by guests at the convention. Today is my pleasure to be joined by Dr. Marco Clark, president of Bishop McNamara High School in Forestville, Maryland. Why, hello, Marco. Welcome to the show, and thanks for being here.
Raul, thank you. Yeah, really my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad you can join me. And if the fans could see us now, we are next to a window on a bench trying to do a podcast with everybody walking by and wondering what the heck we're doing. So
amazing to be here, though. 9,000 Catholic educators.
9,000 people. Those of you that couldn't make it, we missed you. Oh, it was so nice to be here. So, Marco, can you please tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure will. So Marco Clark, I'm at Bishop McNamara High School, where I'm currently the president. Been there for 22 years. This year marks my 30th year in Catholic education, and I began my career as a school counselor and an English teacher, a coach, coached a couple of different sports. Eventually moved into some other roles in admissions and summer school principal and dean of students, and that kind of opened the door for me to consider school administration. Never anything that I ever thought about, but God calls us to our time and place. Served at Bishop McNamara as principal for 13 years, and now the last 9 years as president. Also happily married for 30 years, and 3 children, 3 grandchildren. My wife and I are very blessed.
So you basically started Catholic education when you got married?
So 1989 was a big year for us. We graduated college. I'm a graduate from the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. And my wife is from Maryland, University of Maryland. We got married. We graduated in May. We got married in July, and we started our family a few years later. Yep.
So as a side joke, I was in Worcester a few years ago doing a training, and I kept on calling it Worcester,
right,
or something like that. I know.
Well, you should have seen us Southerners when we drove up there for the first time. We thought it was Worcester as well.
Worcester.
Yeah.
So don't look bad, folks. Just call it Worcester if you're ever out there.
Worcester. Yeah, that's how the locals call. Yeah.
So what did you teach?
So I was an English teacher, did writing, had a couple of electives as well. I really loved to blend in the electives, my psychology background, school counseling background. Something we talk a lot about today is social emotional learning.
Yes.
So I did some of that as well in the early years. I taught study skills. Really enjoyed teaching the writing process. A lot of people don't like doing that, but I did, and it's so important, of course.
Yes. As a college professor now, yes, I can. The writing process is very important for students.
Yeah.
So with that being said, tell me about the awesomeness that is Bishop McNamara High School.
Yeah, so Bishop McNamara is located on the southeast side, Washington, D.C., in Maryland. Mm-hmm. It is in one of the poorest regions of our county, and an incredible place. Founded by the Brothers of Holy Cross. Our students come to us from 9 different counties in Maryland and D.C. and Virginia. Strong, vibrant, robust fine arts program, 21 athletic programs. It's a place where opportunities abound, is what I always say. It's a place where students can come in and be involved in the daily life of the school. It's high energy, intentional, very strong relationships in the school, and very service and justice oriented. Our vision statement, something we're very proud of, we developed just a couple of years ago. We have the vision to create empowered leaders who are inspired by the gospel, who transform the world. And that's really what we see our primary purpose as. Raul, I think you'll love that the mission statement is that we educate hearts and minds in a dynamic, inclusive Catholic school community in the Holy Cross tradition. And that's very purposeful by including the word inclusive. Our school's 85% minority students, predominantly African American. And really the beauty of the school is its diversity, and it's a diversity we're very committed to, socioeconomically, racial, ethnically. socioeconomically, religiously, and as well learning styles. It's if we're going to be diverse, let's be diverse.
Tell me he doesn't sound like a president right now. He sounds so presidential when he talks about his school, and you can see him glowing with pride about his school. So I wish everybody could see this right now.
Love it.
So speaking about president, and we will talk inclusion, what does a president do there on a daily basis?
Yeah, so great question. So I mentioned I spent 13 years as the school's principal, and so the principal handles the day-to-day operations, oversees and manages all the programs, personnel management relations, and supervision and oversight, curriculum development. So really everything to do with the day-to-day operations. The president's role is much more strategic in nature. So much of our focus is on getting the resources that are needed to support the mission of the school. Working with the board of directors is an important part of what we do. I'll be talking today, in fact, about intentional and highly effective board governance and board leadership. So a lot of work with the board of directors. We're in a capital campaign right now, so a lot of my time is spent raising money. Very excited about that. But it's a partnership. You know, good governance is really all about collaboration.
Right.
And the African proverb says that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Right. And so we really believe in collaborative leadership.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. So let's get back to the mission statement. Why is it important, and I'll start with that before I ask you about your populations, why is it important to have inclusion as part of your mission statement?
Yeah, so anybody who's been through a really effective, well-run mission statement building process, development process, knows that these things can take weeks and months and sometimes even years. And that is the case for us. We probably took 18 months to formulate that mission statement. It's one that we're very proud of. And we also find ourselves very invigorated by that mission statement. The word inclusive was debated for quite some time.
Really?
How intentional and purposeful did we want to be about letting the general public know, because inclusive can mean a whole lot of things, right? And sometimes it can even open what some might consider a Pandora's box, right? And yet at McNamara, where we do thrive on diversity, and really the beauty of the school community is in its diversity, we felt it was important to be intentional. And so it's something that we're very proud of. We also know that it's a little bold, courageous. Yeah, I mean, and we don't mind being that either, right? And that's really about trailblazing leadership, I think.
But let me follow up on that. I mean, it's very easy to just talk the talk.
Yeah.
But it's harder to walk the walk. And what they may not know, Marco, but I just saw is how much you're preaching it, you're walking the walk, because I had an administrator just join us right before, and Marco was saying hello, and we asked him about his program and if he had any inclusiveness in his program, and his principal basically said no, was just what's happening with a lot of Catholic schools, that they're not taking the lead with inclusive programs. And Marco just stepped up. Can you just share some of the words? I don't even know if you remember, Marco, but you were telling him things about what it's done for your school as a whole.
Right.
Can you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing is that inclusion is a mindset, and our Catholic schools are doing this and doing it well already, without putting any names or labels to it or having any special programs often. Right? There's a mindset, there's a heart, there's a compassion, there's a love, there's seeing the likeness and image of Christ in all of our children. And that really means all of our children, right? So Jesus said, let the children, he didn't say let some of the children come to me. He said, let the children come to me. All of the children come to me. And so we do this already in our Catholic schools. And yet I think that what happened for us at McNamara was about 10 years ago or so, we knew that we needed to begin to have some program support and some expertise in special education to really begin to support the kids and the families that we knew we were already serving in the population, some with IEPs, some not identified. So through the Catholic Coalition for Special Education and the goodness of the people there, Francesca Pellegrino and the Brogans and the LaValleys, we began what we now call our St. Joseph program. We also knew that the next evolution of that was then to begin admitting students with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and hence grew a program that we're at in the first year of now called our St. Andre program. We have one student with Down syndrome that we serve today in that program, and we have others that will be coming in the future. But again, I go back to the mindset. I go back to the heart for meeting kids where they are, for walking this important journey with them, for giving them the same opportunities to be a part of our vibrant Catholic school communities where we create these living encounters with Christ every single day. And for us, the moment we did put some names and labels to it, and I really hope people don't see this or hear this as an enrollment gimmick, because it was never meant as an enrollment gimmick.
Right.
But we have seen a boom. We have a program now that we have probably 4 or 5 times the number of students that apply for, that we actually have open spaces for. And it's basically formed an entire ethos for our school, Raul. We now have a student support center that has 7 full-time professionals in our student support center that meet the needs of all the students. So we identify and put together early intervention strategies for kids on probation or have truancy issues. We identify, or maybe their parents even identify, they need some mentorship. But then there's also a select special educators who are working directly with our St. Joseph and our St. Andre students. So it's really become the ethos and the heart and soul of the school.
And it goes beyond that, because he was even telling the administrator that was joining us earlier that people have moved into the area.
Oh, yeah.
And we were trying to emphasize the mindset that has changed in your school.
Well, what's amazing, right? We talk so much today about social emotional learning, right? The message that we heard preached at that beautiful mass this morning was a message of unity, right? There's so much polarization in this world. Well, how better to teach unity than to have students who come together in a learning environment, in a spiritual setting, faith-based setting, like our Catholic schools, who learn together, who grow together, who walk the journey together. And you know what? We can't look at this just as a social justice issue, because we all benefit. The students who are in our school, I think one of my proudest moments, it was featured in a book that Michelle Techner wrote on inclusive education. One of my proudest moments as a school was 2 years ago when the Man of the Year award, the Woman of the Year, Man of the Year, the top awards given at graduation, the Man of the Year award was given to a young man who was in our St. Joseph program on the autism spectrum. He just needed an opportunity, and our students gave him a resounding standing ovation, the love for him, and what we learned, and what we learned about respect, right? If our school communities are supposed to build respect, and as my principal loves to say, he said, we're building bridges to one another and highways of hope, right? If that's what we're supposed to do, then we've got to do that, right? And it's our living witness that we do that with.
So with that being said, I mean, I just want to go visit again. I was there not too long ago, but I want to go visit again. And by the way, Michelle will be a host, a guest very soon on our podcast, so you can hear her amazing
She's
story.
Phenomenal.
So with that being said, what should Catholic special education look like, Marco?
So you know what, Raul, we're exploring that question right now as well. We've invited a group of members of our community and the outside community, some who are special educators, but then there's also those who are from the disabled community as well, adults who are in the workforce, who are coming to us, and they're helping us to shape that. You know, the questions have arisen now. You know, what can we do? What about students with physical disabilities who might have difficulty maneuvering our campus? We've had, even before our St. Joseph and St. Andre programs, we've been able to adapt, right? What about students who are hearing impaired or visually impaired? And so I think that it really, so often, Mother Teresa said, that we need to let the Jesus in our heart see the Jesus in others' hearts, right? And that heart is on the inside, right? And not only outside, it's on the inside. And so I think that we just have to continue to explore this as an inside-out proposition on how we can best serve all God's children.
Fantastic. Marco, thank you very much for joining me today. I wish you nothing but prayers and blessings as you continue your mission at Bishop McNamara. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're an inspiration, Raul. Thanks for having me.
God bless you, brother.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, my friend.
Well, that's it for this week. If this podcast was a blessing to you, can you please head over to iTunes and subscribe and give us a review or a rating? It really does help other Catholic educators find the podcast and use it as a resource. Thanks again to the amazing people at RCL Benziger for generously sponsoring this podcast. Check out their new resource for Catholic schools, Blessed Are We, Faith in Action, which enables teachers to share the love of Christ with children who have special needs. Visit rclbenziger.com to learn more. Join me again next time as we continue to advance God's kingdom by including all of God's children in Catholic schools and faith formation. Until then, this is Dr. Raul Escarpio. Thanks for listening, and may God bless your day.